Where did you develop your ideas about what it means to be a Christian? What influences your view of the Christian life now? If you believe that the Christian life is supposed to look a certain way, what is guiding that belief? Today I'd like to challenge you to consider the fact that maybe, just maybe, the world has had more of an influence on your view of what it looks like to be a Christian than you think. Popular Christian literature has overwhelmingly adopted the secular and oh-so psychologized notion that being a Christian is all about living your best life. And that living your best life means living it like you are the center. In a recent article written by a very well-known author, she claims that the main focus in our Christian life is to do what we wish. She says that, and I quote, "The basic human need is to be known, loved, and accepted. And what we do with how we feel about our wishes will shape the course of our lives." She says, Jesus tells us to do what we wish. Thinking about our own wish lists, we then act accordingly toward others. End quote. If this psychobabble is what is shaping the modern evangelical West today, and it is, it's not difficult to understand why so many people in the church today are anxious, discontent, and angry. The problem is that they have believed the lie that they have certain needs, that they need to be met by others around them. And that when others finally meet those needs, then their wishes can come true. However, Jesus says, some are last who will be first. Jesus tells us that we better strive, and that our striving had better not be so that we can manipulate others to make ourselves feel better. He says that we'd better go to battle with our own will and our own pride and our own lusts. He says that if you win, you lose. But if you lose, you win. This is the broken and the contrite heart. James reminds us that God resists the proud and gives grace to the humble. Paul says that death is gain. It's no wonder that many fall away and say, the Christianity thing, it's just not working. I'm not any happier and things aren't going any better for me now that I started going to church and singing the songs and smiling and shaking hands after the service. The church really doesn't have what I was looking for. Perhaps Chesterton was onto something when he said, the Christian ideal has not been tried and found wanting. It has been found difficult and left untried. And that was in 1956, before Maslow's hierarchy of needs had infiltrated the seminaries and the pulpit. Consider today if you have truly pictured the Christian life rightly. As you consider your life, does it imitate Christ's life? What would it look like for us to live as if we truly were a servant no matter the cost? What if our lives were so dedicated to Him that the world considered us ugly and foolish? Do you remember today that the Son of God humbled Himself, came down and took on flesh? He became unremarkable and pitiable so that we might revel in His beauty. He was torn to pieces and treated like an animal so that you might live to worship Him and not yourself. Some are last who will be first, and some are first who will be last. There is true beauty in what the world calls ugly. There is honor in what the world would be ashamed of. There is a profound strength and an ironic glory that will come to those who seek to bear burdens rather than to have all of their so-called needs met. Consider Chesterton again in closing, as he reflects on the humble, the hideous, and the majestic donkey. When fishes flew and forests walked, and figs grew upon thorn. Some moment when the moon was blood, then surely I was born. With monstrous head and sickening cry, and ears like errant wings. The devil's walking parody on all four-footed things. The tattered outlaw of the earth of ancient crooked will. Starve, scourge, deride me. I am dumb, I keep my secret still. Fools! For I also had my hour. One far fierce hour and sweet. There was a shout about my ears, and palms before my feet. Remember today, Christian, that there is much glory in the truth that the last will be first.